Hi and welcome back to another video of jPlay. I am Marcus and I was really overwhelmed by all the responses I got from my unboxing of Carnival Zombie the second edition, and it seems really almost everyone who responded wanted me to do another playthrough of this game, and yes, I'm really excited to do that today. I really got a very cool comment saying, hey, I'm not so interested in the, let's say, basic scenario of this game. On the other hand, I must say the basic scenario that basically was introduced in this version of the game, which is the plague in Venice, is completely new to this game. Again, in the very original game, there was pretty much only one, let's call it campaign game, so one mode to play that with, I think, 4 or 5 different finales still, but it was only one way to play the game. And even though it is kind of an introductory, let's call it, scenario here, I still think it's special enough to showcase to you, and also giving you a comparison to my very original playthrough of the game. I'm not sure how many other videos are out there that were focusing on the plague in Venice. If there are a ton, then I do apologize, and maybe I will return to this game depending on how things go and how much interest I see, and could go for another scenario, for example, or play the standard game again. Leave this a little bit up to you, but I guess today it's all about the plague in Venice. A new pestilence haunts the city of the lagoon. This time the dead have now come back to life. The corpse removers have a new task this time. Instead of bringing the dead from their houses to the common graves, they have to lock them in their houses and not end up being eaten in the process, obviously. Our victory condition in this scenario is to seal the buildings by placing barricades in every numbered location on the map of Venice and survive until the end of the second night. And yes, this is a rather short scenario as we only have 2 nights to play. Again, they are definitely much simpler, so we are not facing any bosses during the first night, but then we will directly see 2 bosses appear at the beginning of the second night. And again, we want to place these barricade markers on each of those numbered location here on the map. Each character can do that once per day, and again there are 12 of those numbered location, if I recall that correctly. Unless, no, there's not a 2, for example. No, I think we are not going for these starting locations here, and I think also not for the A one here and the B one here. Again, this scenario very specifically says we are doing this for the numbered locations on the city of the lagoon. And in case you have watched my unboxing, I also got a very helpful comment about the 2-sided nature of this game. But on the other side, we have the map of Milano, which is then, I think, what is the Mediolanum scenario here. So I think definitely somewhat different. I'm pretty sure the tactical map might be similar, but this is, yeah, we are playing in Venice, that is. And also I got some confirmation about those printed tokens. They were not automatically part of the limited edition. Apparently I paid for those on top of a not inexpensive game, and that shows you how much time has passed since then. Really completely forgotten about that, but now I'm kind of happy that I paid for this, because yeah, those barricade markers and those survivors, and I think we have those for the wounds, and we have one more for the Paranoia cubes, look pretty nice, so I'm not complaining here. Again, a lot of water under the bridge since then. I already have done the setup here, so the group marker is already on the difficult starting space, that is. So when you play the normal games, starting on this location in the top right of Venice is bad, typically. I already put 18 of those barricades into our storage. I prepared the Abyss, and there was, I think, some good, or there's a good discussion on the Geek in respect to the quality of the rulebooks. Mainly, I think, more for the scenario sheets, that is. They could have been clearer to some extent. I assume that we are simply doing all the infected into the back, but if you're really following the setup guide here, literally, I don't know. Yeah, you could be thinking, hey, are there no infected in the Abyss? And I think, yeah, there were a lot of responses to one of those threads, and I'm pretty sure that you put them all into the Abyss, and on top of this you're adding for Paranoia and 2 survivors, which I did. I will put the calendar marker on the day position of ticket 1 in a second when we are getting to start. And then on top of this, there is, let's say, a slightly different turn sequence here. And I do appreciate that they underlined the, let's say, steps where things are new. In this case, like prepare the sigils or seal the buildings, time moves forward. There was also one complaint, why would they stress this one, because from what I can tell in this scenario, this works exactly like the normal games. I'm not quite sure what they're trying to say here, but yeah, let's not complain too much here. Sunset rituals are pretty much the same. I think during the sunrise rituals, the one thing we are not using are those foundering tokens. So Venice is not going to sink in this scenario. So we are not really dealing with a Leviathan, it seems. And then, yeah, I think the majority or the main difference is, again, preparing the sigils, which is one of the loose conditions up there. I come to that in a second. And also the win condition. So if I'm not able to have enough barricades in my storage, which is completely on me. So if I spend more barricades than I should, then I simply didn't pay attention. So I think there is no, at least I hope, no effect. Oh, there could be actually, from some of the event cards that would then remove barricades from the storage area. Let's see about that. But yeah, these are the main, I think, differences in respect to this scenario. So we have to place those barricades onto the map, but I will explain this to you when we get there. Should be rather soon. In respect to turn order, I randomized things. So we are starting here with, I think it's Alejiana, I think. Again, totally randomized this one here. I'm pretty sure that this is devastating enough. Shouldn't have done this, but yeah, I like to live dangerously, at least in board games. So that's where we ended up. Not sure if I like that Capitan Spaventa is last in this case. And again, that's something that I also complained about in my unboxing video, that I think you don't get to change the order of play once you preset. Again, in the first edition of the game, it was preset anyway. From what I can remember, the Capitan was first, and I think it was Columbine also, but this was really preset. In this case, yes, you get to choose the order, but only once at the start of the game. So I don't know what difference this makes in the end, but okay, let's see about that. And I think we should be more or less ready to go. Let's have a very quick look at the special rules of this campaign. The game ends immediately with a loss if one of the following conditions occurs. The group has less than 6 barricades in the storage at the end of the first night. The main reason for that is that you have to prepare the sigils, and each character has to take one of those barricades from the storage. If that's not possible, we are going to lose. Again, I'm not sure if that can actually happen because there are no real events during night, which again during day I cannot quite remember all the events, and maybe they have changed some of those, but I think there's nothing that can remove barricades from the storage during night. So that should be really on me. And then, yeah, I think the obvious one is the group is not able to seal 6 locations at the end of each day, which pretty much goes kind of hand in hand. So 1, 2, 3, yeah, there are 12 numbered locations. I think whatever I counted before, there are 12 locations. So I have to do that basically twice. Each character has to do that. The good thing is I believe no. I'm not sure if incapacitated characters can actually seal a location. Let's see about that. I will come to the special rules, but again, right now no one of us is incapacitated, and I think we are also not doing the story so far set up in this version of the game. On the other hand, I could be wrong. No, I think we are not doing this. Because otherwise folks could be in stress already, but we also could have started with more barricades in the storage box over here, and I'm pretty sure that this is against the spirit of this scenario, that you get more barricades to choose from. So right now we have those 18, and that's to some extent everything that we can do, but still good thing is we can build more barricades during the first and also the second day of the scenario, just to give us some more defenses, which is also important because ultimately we still have to survive 2 full nights here, and doing this without any barricades is definitely challenging. But honestly, I really haven't played this game for years, and yeah. I'm pretty sure I will go down anyway, no matter what. Not speaking about any rule goofs I may be doing. But yeah, bear with me. That's why I'm going for the, let's call it, introductory scenario here. Okay, I think we should be ready to go. So before I put this one away here, we are doing the event of the day, and then we are going to prepare the sigils. So I guess we are starting here at dawn. That would be my take. And then from dawn, which is basically where you do the sunrise, or it's sunrise? Sunrise, right? Yeah, I think so. Sunrise, sorry. Moving into the normal hours of the day. So here we are drawing the event. Here is where we are preparing the sigil. So let's see what event we get. And that is stormy clouds. Yeah, that's a perfect event to start the day, which means we are basically losing 1 day hour. That's amazing. So before we are now moving into this one, I think, yeah, let's normally would move in here. In this case, we will move in here. Yeah, nothing we can do about this. This was really a terrible event, and I think there are 50-50 or so good and bad events in this case, or it's at least somewhat beneficial events. But in this case, yeah, that was a bad start. But now we have to prepare the sigil, which is a relatively simple task. We are moving 1 barricade to each character here on the stress meter. And it doesn't matter if they are incapacitated or not, they will still get 1 of those cubes. Because again, otherwise we cannot fulfill this scenario here. And again, during this step we wouldn't be able to do that because 1 was missing here. We would have automatically lost already. But this is now already the end of the sunrise ritual. So now we would actually move from this to this, but because we have lost a day, we will immediately we will move immediately in here. And I'm pretty sure that this is terrible news. The next thing is our group movement. So we get to decide how many hours we want to move or want to spend for actual movement. So if we're moving 1 location here, then we would basically lose 1 hour. The thing is, I guess we have to 1, 2, 3. The thing is, I would have totally moved 3 hours. And then use 1 hour maybe to search for stuff or doing this. The problem now is, as we've lost 1 hour, again, this was a terrible event for this scenario here. I might be inclined to just move 1-2 spaces here to location 2. And from there, at the end of the day, that is, we would then be allowed to whatever, move out basically, and yeah, place our barricades. And we have to do that 6 times. So for each location, I think, which is adjacent to us, I think we are not losing any stress, only for movement that is further out. So we can continue basically to move all the way up here to 11 from this location or that location, but this would really be painful for our heroes, or for the hero that moves in there. And yeah, you can also not move that far that you would get incapacitated, which kind of makes sense. So I guess, as I really do want to do stuff during day, I think we are only moving 1-2 locations. That's 2 hours we spent. 1, 2. So we still have 1 more hour where we can take our actions. And I just checked the sealed buildings here. I was wrong. You also, to basically get 1 stress per movement that is needed. So even if I go to an adjacent location, we have to spend 1 stress. So this would be now the 1 piece where I think, because we have to do that 6 times now. If we can't do that 6 times from here, we have already lost the game. So yeah, what does this mean? I think let us do some more counting. So here we don't need any movement because we are already here. So that's 1 no stress. 1 stress, 1 stress, 1 stress. But these are already 4 locations out of our 4, and we are spending basically 1 stress each. For any subsequent movements, we already have to take 2 stress for those characters. So let's say someone wants to go in here, that would be 1, 2 stress, and up here would be even an additional +2. So that's really a lot of stress that we have to take. We don't have to move down here, which is good. And I think for the next movement, we may want to move in here, for example, because this would hopefully be enough for us to take less stress. So I think I am okay with that, but as I've never played this scenario before and I don't really want to count things through, and I don't know what the night will bring, so I could be completely, so my characters could be down to whatever, or all in terror level, for example. And in this case, that would be pretty bad. But I guess I still want to take those actions. No, I will stick to my plan here. Might be a terrible choice, but I will do it anyway. So we have stopped our group movement. Now we are going for our character actions. We still have 1 hour left, so each character can take 1 action during day. And this can be a whole lot of things, like resting. We could go for barricades. We can use our daytime ability. We could search for stuff. And I think then we could go for special actions, which are, I believe, not part of this scenario. I think not, because again, our plan is to basically barricade all those locations here. So we are not going for any of those finales, and a lot of those special actions here are in respect to certain finales. I don't know, call for the airship or so. In this case, that's not gonna happen. On this second location though, which is number 2, I guess that is an arsenal, and this special ability allows me to restock any character from, I think only the first player can do this, which would be Alejiana. I think that might be actually worth it, as one of the most important ones might be Pantalone, our engineer here, who could go for more barricades if I recall that correctly. So I guess let's go for the arsenal action. And again, I believe I can take these special actions at least. It's not forbidden on this character sheet, on the scenario sheet here. So the first player gets to choose a character to draw a card from their special deck. And I'm kind of tempted now to either go for the doctor, because I think he has a lot of healing stuff. Alternatively, I'm debating going for Brighell or Brigella or Columbine. They have pretty cool weapons, which might come in handy too. That's a toughie, and I'm really poor at choices today, so I'm going to roll my little jPlay die here. 1, 2, this is the 1, will be the doctor. 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm typically rolling low on dice, as you might recall. So let's see. I told you that's going to happen. So we are drawing a card for the doctor, and this is the card that he has drawn. That's normally the starting card if you're playing on the easy level on the campaign mode. I really shuffle these cards pretty well actually, but that's the absinthe, which allows him, I think, 1 time, I think that's what this one here says, to remove all paranoia cubes from all characters. Yeah, that's pretty bad. Again, it's definitely not a bad card per se, but it's really not great. There are definitely much better cards in those decks. Yeah, I really shouldn't have rolled that. I think I may have really gone for the doctor anyway, but yeah, it is what it is. This was the action for Alejiana. Now we are coming to the Medico della Peste. He has also normal action. We cannot go for the special action again, because that's only allowed for the first player, who has already gone. In theory, he could simply search again, just to hope for something better. And I'm really tempted, because there is a chance, a very slim one, to draw a survivor, and survivors are really helpful for the doctor himself. On the other hand, again, drawing extra cards would be good. And the cool thing about this is where the deterministic nature of those nightmare cards do come into play. We already have removed a bad card from that deck, so it's a little bit less likely that we are drawing another bad card with those search. You still get stuff, so that's the good piece. So you still get 1 stress, or you can still item or survivor result. Oh, that's even good actually. But so I think let him search for maybe something more useful. And yes, we were successful in this case. We are only looking at this result down there, which says in here, item, draw 1 item card from your item deck. That's now the important piece. In this case, you really have to draw from your item deck, and I believe unless it's one of the new characters. I already forgotten her name. I think she can basically draw from any character's pile. And that's what we got here. That's a nighttime ability. When using your character's day ability, you recover 1 stress. Lombroso's works. Yeah, I think this could come in handy actually when we are going for the next night or for the next day after this night, because he can obviously heal others, and in this case he can also recover 1 stress. I guess this could become handy later on in the game. Let's see about that. And that's the end of his hour actually. Next we are moving over to Pantalone, who is our engineer, and his daytime ability says the enhanced barricades. Again, with a standard action you can simply put 3 barricades into the storage. In this case he can do that basically in additional time, and I think let's do that for him. So we are adding 4 more barricades in here. Again, we have to definitely keep at least 6 of those for the next day. So maybe let's separate those out. But this also means we would be able to place that many barricades into the tactical area of the map later on, and that is not bad. Without those 4 we really would be down to only 6 of those, so that would be 1, I think it's 8, right? Yeah, that wouldn't be even 1 per pit in this case, or per cave. Yeah, no, I like that. I think this was important for him. This was his action for the day. And again, we only have 1 action here because we have moved 2 spaces and have lost 1 hour. Otherwise, let's say we only would have moved once, then each character would be allowed to take 2 actions, or basically you would take 1 action per hour. But I think in this case, I think that is okay. Then we have Brick Hell. His daytime ability says help. He can take 1 stress or damage to use any other character's daytime ability. In this case, I think he's simply going to search. Yeah, he's searching, which again means we are drawing 1 card, and this is a survivor. Oh, I was not really hoping for a survivor in this case. And yeah, but it says pick 1 survivor cube from the supply and put it in the abyss. If there are no survivor cubes in the try, do it with item results. In this case, unfortunately, I do not get to choose. I will simply put 1 of those survivor cubes in there. Ultimately, it somewhat increases our chances not to draw infected, or decreases our chances to draw infected. And again, having survivors later on in our supply is a good thing. But ultimately, yeah, I was really hoping for a cool thing there. But I will take it. I will take it. Yeah, that was Brick Hell already. Then it's Columbine, and I think she's doing the exact same thing as well. She is going to search. On the other hand, her daytime ability, the exploration, allows her to remove 1 obstacle of a chosen color from the group's location. And this could be valuable because right now we have to deal with 4 black obstacles and there are no fortifications whatsoever. This location here would have 2 and 2, 2 blue and 2 blue obstacles, and 2 the fortifications. They are in our favor. They're always yellow. So losing 1 of those could be also not bad, especially in this scenario. On the other hand, I think I want to have stuff. Right? Yeah, let's draw a card. So this could be a terrible mistake, and that's an infected, which means in this case, I believe she's taking 1 stress, and then we can choose the item or survivor result. So first of all, she will take 1 stress. Right now, that is not the end of the world, and then she gets to draw a card from her item deck. And now let's hope for something cool. That's a daytime ability, the tarot cards. Place 2 survivors in the abyss at the start of each day. In the normal mode, this would be cool, but the problem is we only have 1 more start of the day. But we know for a fact we are adding 2 more survivors into the abyss. And again, having more blue cubes than any other color is definitely a good thing. But for her, I was really hoping for something better. A nice weapon, or there is some cool ammunition she has in her item pile. But then, last but not least, it's the Capitan, and his special ability, the veteran, allows him to, I believe, he can remove a boss. The problem is we are not, or it's not really a problem, it's a good thing in this case. He could eliminate a boss in the boss area. We are not getting any rewards for that. Again, if you're really playing with the normal game and you are finding yourself at day 2, day 3 already with 2 bosses out there, then this special ability is, I guess, priceless. In this case, I think he might want to search as well. Yeah, let's do that. And for whatever reason, I'm doing this over here. So let's see what he gets. That's a blue one. So I guess it's a survivor. Ooh, I think so. It's a blue one. Ooh, not sure if this is now an expansion thing, but I would treat it as a normal survivor. So I put one more into the abyss. But this concludes the end of the day. Every character had one action, which means we are moving into the sunset rituals phase here. But actually, before we do, we have to do the seal the buildings here. Of course, that's the main idea of this scenario. So I guess because Columbine already has taken 1 stress in this instance, she is the one who is placing her marker onto this location here. And then I think we have to basically swarm out. Someone has to go back here to position 1, and in this case, I think I will go with Alejiana. Again, they have all these cubes on their character sheets, and he has to take 1 piece of stress for that. Then someone has to go to 4. This could be the doctor. Why not? So he's going in here. There are no pluses in here, so that's at least something. Someone has to go to the 5. I think this will then be the engineer. So we have already sealed 4 location, and for the next we already have to take 2 stress each. So I guess in this case, Brick Hell, I mean, he's our tank anyway. He has to take 2 points worth of damage to make it here, I guess. And the same is true for our Capitan. He will basically move to location number 6 down here. So those locations have been barricaded. We still have 6 more to go for the next day. And we already have taken quite some beating without actually doing anything meaningful. But yeah, that's the game in the end, I must say. And now we are going to the sunset phase. Or sunset rituals, that is, which then also means we have to discover the terrains. We kind of looked at it already. So we are looking at our current location here, which has no fortifications, unfortunately, but 4 of those black obstacles, that is. So we have a pile of obstacles here. I shuffle those and I will simply draw from the bottom of this deck. Of course, we first have to define a cave in which this one goes, and this goes to north 1. So we are taking the bottom tile, and this is one of those, I think it's a palace also, which kind of limits our abilities to shoot past it. So it's simply a big building that's in our way. The good thing is Columbine is allowed to ignore that. So she would be a perfect candidate later on to start her activation in the north side of the tactical maps. They are not yet here yet, so they're still camping out here. I still get to choose where to place them. But that was only one of those. We have to continue to draw. So the next one goes into East 2. So let's see what this one is. And these are, I keep forgetting what those are. Catacombs, exactly. They go also into Ring 1 of East 2, which in this case means that infected can, I believe, bypass our barricades, if I recall that correctly. Not quite. They can move into barricade boxes even if it's only partially filled. So in this case, we either leave it completely empty, so not putting any barricades in here, or place 3 barricades in here just to protect them. But this will only last 1 turn or so. Once the first is gone, someone can move into that barricade here. And then we can only fend them off with, I think, assault actions, that is. We still have 2 more to go. Hooray. And that's another East 2, but could be the same, could be something different. This is a palace. No, this is again another catacomb, which means we've also basically moving 1 space clockwise to the next thing of the ring. So this goes to the south too. Instead, we can't have 2 obstacles in the same cave. And then the last one, again, these are all black, goes to north 1, where we also already have 1. Oh, that's kind of a problem. So wow, we have a lot of catacombs, but honestly, we only have 2 different kind of black obstacles, that is. So that is definitely bad. So the north is pretty bad, and I guess the southeast also doesn't look so nice. But that's pretty much what we have to live with in respect to those obstacles. And again, if I would have used Columbina's special exploration, I could have basically ignored one of those draws here, so only dealing with 3 obstacles. But okay, it is what it is, not going to change that. And then up next we would do the character entrance. Exactly. And again, because Columbina can pretty much ignore this palace here, she has to go in there. That much is clear. Here we do have a lot of these, I keep forgetting that, catacombs. So having someone with a relatively strong ambush rating like Brick Hell would be a good candidate to place maybe in one of those here. Let them remove them here so that I know what I'm doing here. The Captain, I think, wants to be... these miniatures are really nice, actually. I think, yeah, let's see. I think we will place the Captain last, depending a little bit on where we're placing things. On the other hand, we want him to be here, I guess, because here are 2 catacombs. He also has a relatively strong assault rating. Assault rating. So I guess we may want to really put him here for now. Yeah, let's do that. And the rest, the doctor, I think, who has taken beatings? It's Brick Hell or things. So I guess I want to put the doctor with his pest mask here. I guess maybe to Brick Hell for now, doesn't matter too much. The Pantalone or maybe Alejiana, I think we will place him here so that we have it covered. And in this case, we also want characters next to our Captain, because the more characters, and he's using his commands, and those commands typically always work for all the characters in his space. So maybe we do want to have Alejiana here. And in case something terrible happens on the west side of the map, we can still move there sooner or later. But I think the majority of stuff is here north and southeast. So I guess that's our starting position. Yes. Next we would have our boss entrance. But again, we don't have any bosses here. And right now, after reading some of the other things, after reading the, the turn overview, I'm not even so sure if I should have skipped the foundering of the city here. I think I should, because the scenario sheet here tells me that I'm not using those components here. Because the reason why I'm questioning myself is here because if I'm only following what's printed here, event of the day, and prepare the sigil, which this would mean I'm not really moving the clock marker, and I'm also not reshuffling the nightmare deck, and I'm pretty sure that this is wrong. So I guess we have to look for this one here too. So I guess I was okay not using the founding, but everything else happens to the sunrise ritual. So yes, I do agree with some of the comments here. The scenario sheet, at least the setup instructions, could have been a tad clearer, but luckily, because these are only more or less single-sided campaigns, there is a good chance that we can repair those, or the community, or the publishers, Alpapavo. So maybe we get some more FAQs or erratas on those. But again, I'm pretty sure it's far from unplayable, I would think. I believe I already messed things up a little bit because I already skipped the place the barricades, which you do before the character entrance. Oh, that's weird. That's, I think, yeah, that's why I was wondering. It's basically the reverse order on the scenario sheet compared to the rules. There you place the barricades and then you are going for the character entrance. I'm not sure why they should have changed that, because it again doesn't really make a whole lot of difference anyway. But okay, in theory, we have those cubes available to us, which would still leave us 6 cubes for the next day, which we need, because if we don't have those 6 cubes in our reserve, we will lose after this night. So I guess we will place them. Again, the question is, I think for now, let's do definitely one here and one here, because, and maybe also one here. These are protected as normal, right? So as long as there is a barricade, no one can move in here. Again, these catacombs will change that. So I guess we are doing something very similar here, and maybe also something in here. The question now really is, should we protect maybe one of those with 3? So that we can maybe, and we also have to see where we want to move out later on. That's also a very critical part about this game, because you have to move towards a direction later on through the tactical map. And in this case, we can basically move out to any locations. But ideally, we want to move up to the north. So protecting our north could be a valuable thing to do, right? So I guess we are placing indeed 3 cubes in here, protecting this. Then we have still 2 left, so we could maybe, let's really go crazy. Let's do one more here, and also one more here. And we want to, then I think we have to simply address those. Yeah, okay, I like that. I really do like that. And now the boss would actually have its entrance, and we don't have any bosses. So I guess up next, we are moving into the normal night phase. We are moving in here. Now we would be allowed to use symbols with, or items with this symbol here. Some items you can only ever use at the first hour of night. We don't have any one of those, so we can ignore these. All the other nighttime items could be something like this. And then we also have items like, for example, the absinthe from the doctor, the pest doctor here, which we can pretty much use anytime during night for a one-time action. So in this case, we can kind of ignore this. So we are not going to use any items right now. So we can move into the infected step, which means we are drawing 3 cubes from the back, and we don't have any bosses whatsoever. So we put out 3 of those. We are putting them out in the ring 3 here. We are starting north 1, north 2, and so on. You get the idea. Okay, I think only thing that matters right now are, or that are different, are the Paranoia cubes or the survivors here. So let's simply keep going. They move next. First of all, they are being brought out, and then they are moving. So we will definitely have some fun here. A lot of vermin, but these are the, yeah, I don't know, the grunts in this whole scenario here. I will have a look at those in a second. So we have those. I think we have put in a lot of survivors. None of those have come out yet. Oh, okay. We have drawn our first Paranoia cube, which is this one over here. Normally, we would have to assign it to a character of the same pit. And as this is the west pit, this is a complete pit. We don't have any characters in here. We get to choose where to place that Paranoia. It comes with a lot of nasty things in the end. I think the worst part about this Paranoia cube is that the character cannot spend stress to take extra actions, which could be pretty penalizing. So I'm inclined to assign this one to a character who already is kind of shaken here. On the other hand, I may want to give it to the doctor right now, because he can get rid of those relatively easily. I mean, his medic, he can heal. I think for now, let's give it to the doctor. I think that is fair. That is fair. Let's do that. And this also means we have 1 less infected here, and then we have to draw 3 more for West 1 in this case. And that's a survivor. Okay, cool. We have drawn a survivor. The survivor stays out here. And if we manage to basically have this entire cave free of infected at the end of this night, so we have a couple of hours to do that, but not very likely, then we will gain this survivor and put it into our storage area later on. Again, not sure if that's our primary goal, but it's also 1 less infected. So this definitely does help for sure. Cool stuff. So those were the infected movement. Then the infected and the boss will move. And again, you also do that basically cave by cave. Typically, you will start from the closest one in. So that's because everyone that came in here is also moving. So that's so different to Zombicide, for example, at least as far as I remember. So every new thing that has been added to the board is moving. So again, we are starting up in north. And right now in North 1 we have only those vermin here. The vermin, they have a movement of 1, which means this is, I think, their damage marker. This is their attack marker. In this case, they are simply moving 1 space further. Again, that's relatively easy. Then we are looking in here. And then we are doing the Bargus, the Goliath, and the Moloch. We are typically doing that from right to left in this case, because the Bargus will move 2 spaces here right into this catacomb here, which is a problem. Then the Goliath will move 1 and the Moloch will move. The Moloch is a little bit tougher. He hits a bit more with 2 stress basically. The Goliath is not so hard, but it's pretty much a fatty in respect to Zombicide terminology, and I really don't like that game actually. Not sure why I'm doing these references, but those were those. So ultimately this is a relatively straightforward thing to do. They move 1, those all move 1, and I'm really happy that I didn't see a lot of these Bargus actually. They are really fast movers, and they are moving. The Bargus is moving, this vermin is moving, and those 2 are moving. They're leaving the survivor here alone, so I don't have to rescue them right away. But this was all of the movement. Before they get to attack, we get our actions first. This is really something which I like about this game. You see movement and then you can respond to it. This is now where the game becomes a puzzler, because there is literally no more randomization at this point in time. There's a lot of randomization in respect to where those obstacles come out, which infected are coming out where, but after that it's pretty deterministic, and that's pretty cool stuff actually. So a character can either move, or they can shoot, or they can go for an assault. An assault action is something when one of those infected has made it into these barricade spaces here. Right now they're all out here, and as I'm a little bit concerned about the dogs here, they would, that's really a bummer that the dog came out here where we don't have any one of those heroes. So I think this dog will definitely eat this barricade here. Yeah, that's a bummer. So now we have to follow the character activation down here, and as I feared, having him go last might be completely brutal now. I guess, at least. Let's see how things work out. Again, in the first edition of the game, the Capitan was always first. He would go first, he could use his orders, but in this case, he is last in this activation. So, but maybe we can still respond to stuff, depending a little bit on how well we are doing with this pile of corpses here, which is a nice dexterity game. Normally, I would say dexterity has nothing to do in a game like this. Here, it's a ton of fun because it really adds to the tension of this game. Not so much during the first couple of rounds, but the more baddies you pile on this corpse pile, the more likely it gets that someone falls off. And when a corpse falls off, then you are suffering stress. Really hilarious. I don't know, but this works really, really well in this game for whatever reason. Okay, Alejiana is first, and the good thing is, which I almost forgot, I think he's this one here, he gets a free movement. That's his commando special ability, and this doesn't count for his action. So in fact, he could move over here and go after the Bargist. So yeah, let's totally do that, absolutely. So for his free movement, he's moving into the west. He's now away from the Capitan. That is kind of a bummer, but I still think let's try to protect this barricade as long as we can. Because yeah, I think she can take out this Bargist. I think that is okay. I think that is okay. So let's deal with this. So he's now taking his attack. And now we have to look at his weapon. He's using an M16, which has 2, I think, hits. They're referring to that. Is it hits? I think it's hits. It does that amount of damage. This wouldn't be enough for a Goliath, for example, who needs 2 hits to kill it. And we are basically looking at the range here, which is 2. And I think for him, this works pretty okay. So for his first hit, he's taking, you always have to go for the closest one, and there are also exceptions. If there is something here in the barricades, for example, then you have to deal with those first, or you have to take a stress, but in this case, he's totally fine. The first hit goes to the Barghest. The Barghest only takes one hit, so it's dead. And with the second hit, we are going for the Vermin. Same thing, it's 1-2 spaces away, which is totally in range for the M16, which means we have taken out both of those, which means we are dealing with a pile of corpses, and you always have to drop them. Also, let's say if I would have killed 5 infected with one shot, which is possible with an explosive weapon, for example, or ammunition, then I would have to drop all 5 of those. In this case, it's 2. I can do that from any height right now. It's not a problem. It can become a nightmare if you have sticky fingers. Right now, I'm still okay, but this will change throughout the night, rest assured. And in theory, this was Alejiana's action. The thing is, there are still 2 more here which he could kill with basically one shot. So he has to take 1 stress to do that, and I'm really tempted to do that actually. So I think let's wipe that complete pit here, the western pit. So bam bam, these 2 are out too. Again, we have to drop those. We can put them right next to that. Again, during the first 1-2 hours of the night, that is not a problem, but this pile of corpse will definitely fill up, and then things get a little bit more juicy. But now Alejiana has to stop. You cannot take any more stress to take more action. So I think, at least I think you can only do that once. I think so, yeah. And then it's over to the doctor. His nighttime ability says he is a medic. So at the end of his activation, he can basically heal 1 character, including himself, right? Yeah, and remove Paranoia. So he can also remove Paranoia from himself, which was the main reason why I gave the Paranoia to him. So I guess, and that's something that happens at the end of his activation. So again, that's pretty much a freebie. He still gets to shoot, but unfortunately he's using the old gun, which only has a range of 1, which in this case means, wow, he cannot shoot anything because they're all 2 spaces away. In theory, he could now move, for example, up north and then shoot, but because he has the Paranoia, he cannot basically exert himself in this case. So I guess he simply has to stop, right? Oh man, that's so embarrassing. Unfortunately, we don't have the survivor. There are no survivors here. In fact, he could go for a survivor action, for example, but then the survivor would only, yeah, I think survivors block bosses, so that also doesn't really help us here. And right now he doesn't want to move either. I think he feels okay where he is, or does he want to move? But he chose Brick Health for a reason, to heal him later on. But now, as he has, this is now really bad. This is now really bad. So he could move up there next round to do something. And then he would be there to maybe leverage Capitan Spaventa's Captain orders here, which will affect the whole part of the refuge, right? So we have the fire at will, so everyone gets to choose. Then we have no fear, no remorse. Each character in the space recovers 1 stress and removes Paranoia if possible. Nice. Or we have a fight or move, which then would be an assault or movement action. But I think that also doesn't really help him. So no, I guess he stays where he is and will simply heal himself. So we're removing this. This is gone. I think this is out of the game for now. Again, this might come back later on. Does it go into the storage? I don't really know. Let's put it into the storage area for now. I really have to check when those are coming back. So he's fully healed now. So he might be the candidate who may be moving out to these other locations during the next day. Again, we still have to move 6 barricades onto the city, onto the locations of Venice, that is. But this is basically the turn of our doctor. Next is Pantalone, and his special ability is the engineer, right? He can put 1 barricade in 1 barricade boxes in his pit. The thing is, I believe it's coming from the storage, but I could be completely wrong, actually. I think this is something I have to do some reading. because I cannot quite remember how this was in the first edition. For whatever reason, I think it's coming from the supply, but I could be completely wrong. I don't know. The thing is, he's also over here, right? And he has a rather good weapon, actually. He only does one shot, but it's an explosive shot, and he can shoot 3 spaces away. So that's pretty great, actually, because he can shoot at all of those. Again, the Moloch only takes 1 hit. The only dangerous one in respect to hits is the Goliath up here, which can take 2 damage. Again, you cannot partially hit those characters or those infected unless you are taking one of these extra stress shots, basically, because then you can pretty much accumulate those damages to also Goliaths, for example, also bosses or whatnot. But in this case, that's really not a problem. So he's going to shoot into this cave here. Again, it's explosive ammunition, which means all of those take 1 hit, and it only takes 1 hit to kill those, which means we already bring out more of those. Right now, again, not the end of the world. He could now take a stress to go once more, because there is only this one here. The problem now really is they're both now in a location where there is nothing to fight. So there is a good reason to say that he is basically exerting, taking 1 stress to take out those 3. So that then the Capitan, for example, could maybe move somewhere else, because the north right now is definitely more grim here. Would you agree? Interesting. Really, really interesting. I guess we are doing it this way, because again, otherwise they would be, I mean, we will have new folks in here, but I still think we are okay, actually, having only 1. No, let's do that. So he's taking 1 extra stress. He can do that. Again, not sure if that's the best choice or not. We are taking those fellas and also adding those to the pile of corpses here. And again, I totally like this. Okay, we already have started to wow, staple cubes on top of other cubes. I really like that. Okie dokie, then it's Brick Hell. Brick Hell is using a relatively, let's say, strong weapon in respect to firing speed and also range, but not so much in respect to how much damage we do. This is really where Columbine plays her cards pretty well, but I still think he can shoot 3 times down here, I guess, right? We can, I think, oh, maybe did I already screw this up? I think we can shoot past those catacombs, right? Yeah, of course we can do that. So yeah, we are definitely shooting those 3 guys. Again, these are 3 shots. We could really spread those out. I could take 2 here, 2 here. So I would do that maybe, for example, if there would have been a Barghest in one of those. So I don't know. There could be reasons why I would do that. But in this case, because they are closest here to our little catacomb, I will shoot those 3 vermin. So let's see. Okay, things are getting a little bit tricky. I think we will... Ooh, this was already so close. Again, it's not the end of the world. He would take 1 stress. Things are changing if a character is in Paranoia. If they drop a cube, then everyone gets a stress. Really, the stress is real in this game, for sure. They're doing this very, very nicely. And now again, we can also debate if we want him to take an additional stress now to take out these 3 guys. But as the doctor is still here with him, I think, and let's not do that just yet, right? That's an interesting one, but I think this one is kind of not really safe, but it takes some time there. I think it's really important that we have cleaned out the locations here for now. So cool, this was basically this. Now we are moving over to Columbine. She can shoot 3 spaces. Her shots, because yeah, she's a sniper, she deals 2 damage, so she can take out Goliaths with 1 shot, which is good. And yeah, but she only does 1 hit. That's certainly a problem, so she might want to exert as well, but let's do one shot at a time. The thing is, I'm not 100% sure if taking out the Barghest is now our problem. She can also ignore the limitations, or she can also shoot past zombies in the first row. Normally you cannot, oh, I said it now, zombies. Normally you can only ever shoot targets closest to you. She can basically ignore that. And again, with her 2, she can take out the Goliath, which takes 2 damage. So I think let's do that first. Let's get rid of the Goliath. And as this was a single shot, we only drop the 1 cube in here. So what you see that now, it's filling up pretty fast. And now we have to decide if we want to do that again. And I'm tempted to do that once more, actually. Maybe we should get rid of the Barghest. Because again, right now the north is our way out to some extent. And I guess, yeah, she is taking 1 point of stress. So right now that's still okay. So she's shooting at this Barghest here, which again only takes 1 point of damage. So let's drop that here accordingly. I think we can put it over here. And the idea now is, or my strategy is, to build a foundation for all the other cubes to come. Let's see how good or bad this is working out. And then last but not least, we have Captain Spaventa. Again, he can use one of his order tokens, but I think right now there is no reason to do that. So I guess he is simply moving up north to Columbine, because again he might go after these fellas, and maybe Columbine may take out the Moloch here, because he's using explosive shots with his Remington 870. Only doing basically, or he's only doing 1 hit, so he can only target 1 cave, but still going after those infected up here is pretty great. And right now he has a range of 1 anyway only. So I think, oh, good that I checked this action. Good that I've taken the stress for the Pantalone, for the engineer, because the Capitan wouldn't be able to reach those. I think they were over here or so. Yeah, good that I checked that. He wouldn't be able to shoot at them. Wow, good. That was working out. Cool stuff. But this is pretty much the end of our character activation. Up next, we would have the infected attack something. Right now they are not adjacent to our refuge here, for example, which definitely does help. So they are not taking out any barricades right now, which in this case means nothing will do, which means we are moving into the next hour of the night. So again, we would be allowed to use any items. We don't have that. Next, we would have another infected entrance, then the infected and bosses would move. Again, we don't have any bosses in here. So I guess ultimately we are basically doing the same thing, rinse and repeat again. But I guess for today I will call it. So not sure how far I will get with my second episode. Maybe I can continue or finish the night for sure and do the day, and maybe even do the second night. Maybe I have to split that into 3 episodes in total. I mean, this worked for The Hobbit as well, right? Why shouldn't it work here? So let's see how things go. Before I forget, a huge shout out to all of my patrons and channel members out there. You guys are truly great. Really cannot tell you how much I appreciate all your support. If you want to support my little channel here, you will find a link to my page on Patreon. You can join my community here directly on YouTube. There is a little, I think, thanks button now available, but also like and subscribe, leave a comment. This also greatly helps the channel as well, of course. And yeah, with that being said, hope to see you soon in one of my other videos, maybe the second episode of my playthrough of Carnival Zombie, the second edition. If you are impatient, you can always go back in time and check out my original playthrough of the first edition. Quite fun as far as I remember. But yeah, again, hope to see you soon. And with that being said, until then, bye bye.